Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. What a horrifying way to end the regular season. You know the numbers, 10-1, and then 1-5. 10-1 to 1-5. First team since the New York Jets in 1986 to start out 10-1 or better. And barely make the playoffs, not get 12 wins on the season. That is unbelievable. And not win their division. That's the other little caveat and tie into the 1986 Jets. That's atrocious. And what I saw yesterday was a team that is done. A team that does not want to inspire confidence in the fan base, let alone their locker room, going into the playoffs against a team that actually won their division in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I saw a team that has absolutely quit on the organization and the coaching staff. And what was amazing to me was I was watching that first quarter, and I'm like, the starters are in there. The Cowboys are actually, whoa, look at that. They're losing to the Commanders. Good golly, they could actually come out here and win. And I'm thinking, you know what? DeAndre Swift has an illness. Okay, it could be legitimate. You want to give him a break. All right, that's fine. And then you want to, Fletcher Cox is also sitting out, too, for rest. And you knew that going into the game, so I thought that was interesting. Zach Cunningham was out there running around, so it was nice to have him back, right? A.J. Brown's playing. Devontae Smith obviously is not playing because of the injury. Darius Slay is not playing. But you still had your starters out there for the most part. And that was the effort they gave? The Eagles offense turned the football over twice. Once with a wonky finger from Jalen Hurts. The other with A.J. Brown getting tackled and hurt and leaving the game. This literally could not have gone worse. It literally could not have gone worse yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles. 27-10. They got stomped in a game where at least half of it mattered. And here's the argument. If you really think that yesterday's game didn't matter because it wasn't going to affect the playoff seedings, the Cowboys were absolutely going to beat the Commanders, and that's an easy argument to make. That is not a reach even a little bit. That's not some piping hot take. The game mattered for the Eagles themselves. The game mattered to this team. They needed something to get right, get into the playoffs, and then make sure that they could take the ball wherever they needed to, beat the Buccaneers, go on to face whoever after that with some semblance, some ounce of confidence. And they laid an egg in the Meadowlands yesterday. That's the effort was atrocious. The execution was horrible. And the overall play was embarrassing for the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. And they played a game. And this is funny. A little caveat here. A little behind the scenes here. So we're doing the pregame show for Jacob Media. We had some technical difficulties. We apologize for that little internet connection issue down there. We were hardwired, folks. We were hardwired. It wasn't like me, depending on Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? So we're watching this all play out, and we're having this issue. We did the show for like 20 minutes. Then we had to take like a 10-minute break, fix everything, and then come back and do the show. And then around the midpoint of the first quarter, Joe Kraus, the man who runs the show, right? He goes, hey guys, we're having this issue still with the internet, and we gotta send you guys home and do the show from home, do the post game show from home, because we might not have a connection for post game. Stuff like this happens, whatever. I worked on national TV broadcasts where all of a sudden they can't get the clock working for whatever game, so stuff like this happens. So we have to go home from AC. It took me like an hour, right? So I missed. Actually, I made it home in less than an hour. I made it pretty quick. Sorry, officers. And I get home, and on the way home, I'm listening to Merrill and Mike. Now, I don't get to listen to Merrill and Mike hardly ever anymore. Actually, never. I never get a chance to listen to Merrill and Mike. So I finally have a chance. And oh, my goodness gracious, on the way home, they are slaughtering the Eagles. I'm like, I have the right broadcast, right? Like, Merrill's not doing the show or the broadcast for the Giants, right? But he's right. And this is what we love about Merrill and Mike. They're honest. They don't try to sell us a bill of goods, whatever, snake oil salesman. They're not that, certainly. So I'm listening to Merrill and Mike, and I'm hearing Merrill say things like, one of the breaks he went to was like, I never heard of Metal Lad said the Eagles are getting murdered back after this. That kind of thing. And then the other was one of my favorite ones, like, one of these teams is 5-11, the other team is 11-5. You'll never know the difference. That's right, Merrill. Like it was. I was dying. I was like, I miss these guys. These guys are great. But watching the games on TV, I don't really get a chance to listen to them. And I'm like, it really is that bad. It is that bad. And then I come out and I catch up at halftime about some plays in the first half that I missed while I was in the car in the second quarter. Saquon Barkley running between 3 Eagles defensively and no one giving a damn. Oh God, who else was it? A Robinson touchdown, I think it was. Just waltzed into the end zone. The other Saquon Barkley's touchdown where they just dumped it off to him in the flat, and he ran around Nicholas Morrow, I want to say it was, and pranced into the end zone like it was nobody's business. That was fun. Just nobody giving a damn. And as I watched the second half unfold, of course, you had the backups in there by then. The effort I saw from the Eagles was an effort that was begging for the head coach to get fired. And I know that Nick Sirianni is going to be a scapegoat because this is bigger than the head coach. But Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have obviously presided. Jeffrey Lurie has presided over 3 Super Bowl appearances in his tenure. Obviously, the only franchise's Super Bowl victory. Howie Roseman, since coming back from the Chip Kelly era, has gotten this team to 2 Super Bowls in 6 years. That's not bad. That's not bad. But Nick Sirianni is the guy that is probably going to take the fall for all this. It's not all his fault, but when the hell does that ever matter? If it really was his decision, which I doubt, given what Hassan Reddick had to say last week about how the higher-ups, quote-unquote, wanted to make the change at the defensive coordinator, not the coaching staff. I think it's very easy to make that distinction. If he says, the coach wanted to make a change, so he made a change, then he says that. But the higher-ups makes me think that there was other involvement, other meddling in the process there. So listening to him talk about and ignoring it just for this argument, if you really made the choice to change your defensive coordinator, at least your defensive play caller, and you have become worse this season, then that's your big swing and a miss. There's no reset button after that. If it really was Nick Sirianni's call, and he went to the front office, he went to Howie, and he went to Jeffrey Lurie, and he said, I just can't do it with the side guy anymore. We got to go with Matt Patricia. And then Matt Patricia is worse. I keep on going back to the stat, but it's the one that I think matters greatly. I could see a team giving up 6 consecutive touchdowns to the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are pretty good at football. I can't see a team giving up 4 consecutive touchdowns to the Arizona Cardinals the way Matt Patricia did. Decide 6 straight touchdowns against the 49ers. I can see it. Patricia, 4 straight touchdowns, and also never forcing a punt against the Cardinals. Oh, no, I can't see that. And Tyrod Taylor torching you? You can't. This team changed defense court. Take a look at a team like the Bills, all right, who are in the playoffs. They secured a playoff spot before their game. They had to win the division, essentially. They control their own destiny in terms of if they won, they're in the playoffs. They win the division. That's great. They fire their offensive coordinator, and the only game they lose, of course, is to the Philadelphia Eagles. Good God. That's when you make a change. I think it was after week 10 they made the change. Eagles were a 10-3 football team. They gave their new defensive play caller 4 games to get it right. And they did it. To do that is such a cocky and arrogant way of doing it by saying, all right, they got San Francisco out of the way. Okay. All right. We got the Cowboys out of the way. It's smooth sailing from here on out. We can have Nick Sirianni call defensive plays and still be able to beat our opponents. Well, what did they do? They lost to Drew Lock. They lost to Tyrod Taylor yesterday. They lost to Kyler Murray. All right, sometimes he can play good. Sometimes he can play well. And then they were the only guy they really had success against was the Tommy DeVito character. Explain to me how this makes sense. Utter and embarrassing panic move by the Eagles. Huge swing and a miss to fire the defensive coordinator at that point. Essentially fire him. Neuter him is probably the more accurate word. But watching everything play out the way it did, not great. Eagles to end this season. Through the first 12 weeks of the season, they were 10-1. Obviously 1-5 through weeks 13 to 18. They averaged more than a touchdown fewer scored per game. They scored 28.2 points per game to 20.5 in the last 6 games of the season. They allowed 22.4 points per game in the first 11 games of the season. They allowed 30.3 points per game over their losing 5 of 6 to end the season. 22 points to 30 points allowed. And you made a defensive coordinator change in the midst of that. I'm supposed to have confidence in this team going into the playoffs? It's a bad odor, man, when you look at a team and they just look like a team that quit. And here was the most horrifying thing. And again, I caught this in the car on the way back from Oceans. Merrill said, let's go to Howard Eskin. And Eskin's down there on the sideline, right? And he goes, I was talking to Nick Sirianni before the game. And Nick Sirianni said the message to the team was win this game. This game matters. This game is, can affect our playoff seeding, and we want to end the season on a positive. This game, we got to win this game. So the message from Nick Sirianni was, this is the real deal. You got to go out there. You got to win this game. Like, the desire to win the game from the coaching staff was there. You got to win this game. And they laid an egg. They just flatlined this entire game. The message from the coach was this game matters. The play from the team was, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. They asked that. Well, I'll play it for you. We're going to hear from Nick Sirianni. We're going to hear from Jalen Hurts, and we're going to hear from Jason Kelce. Fletcher Cox had some interesting things to say after the game as well, but it was all like, I know the guys in this locker room, and the guys can't hang their heads. The guys got to go after this and all that stuff. And it's like, this locker room is shot to hell. Because the two things that I'll go back to constantly now. One was Hassan Reddick, and I've banged that drum. And I'm telling you, if A.J. Brown didn't address the media last week, the lead story, I don't know how it wasn't the lead story throughout the weekend, was Hassan Reddick's words in the locker room, where he laughed at the idea of dropping back in coverage so many times. Sure, he said the right thing. Oh, I'll do whatever it takes to win. Yeah, that's great. But the reaction was priceless. And talking about the higher-ups making the change at defensive coordinator and how difficult it is with somebody else calling plays. Even though the scheme is technically the same, just somebody else's play calling, somebody else's idea, the final say on what the play is going to be and all that communication, where guys are supposed to be, that is very difficult to adapt to. Think about this. Kevin Byard has had, 3 defensive coordinators essentially this season? That can't be easy. Shaq Leonard came in here, not that I'm banging the drum that this is all the coaching's fault for Shaq Leonard. The Colts did let him go for a reason. I was all for bringing him in. I didn't think it could get much worse, but it kind of got worse. He takes a week to hear Sean Desai, and then all of a sudden you flip that on him. Great. All the while, Zach Cunningham is hurt. Cool. Having fun yet? But one of the things Jason Kelce got into after the game that was really amazing. He's asked the question by Jeff McClain. It's a very fair question. It's like, you've been here for the end of Andy Reid. You've been here for the end of Chip Kelly. You've been here for the end of Doug Peterson. How is this what's going on right now? How is this not that? How is right now not exactly what happened with those other head coaches? Like, think about that, especially in the eyes of Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl. Andy Reid had at least been to a Super Bowl. Andy Reid at least continuously got to 5 NFC championship games in his time here, winning 1, as we know. And then Chip Kelly just pooed the bed. So for me, how is this not? So Jeff McClain's asking the question, how is this not that? And the question the answer that Jason Kelce gave was not exactly inspiring. It was about a minute and a half of, like, if you ask, like, hey, is this like wherever other coach got fired? If you really think Nick Sirianni should be back here, if you really think Nick Sirianni should be back here, it's not a minute and a half answer. It's yeah, but this isn't all on coach. I mean, this is us as players. And he was asked the question about players playing better and coaches, not so much the coaches, but the players playing better, doing their job better, not so much the coaches. And he did say both. But if you really think that a head coach is going to be back, or you want a coach back, it doesn't take that long to answer. Like, this isn't on Nick. We haven't played well. We haven't played to our standard. I know everyone hates that word right now. But he kind of dances around it for about a minute and a half. I'll play the whole thing for you. Nick Sirianni talking about how this team's not quitters. They're not freaking quitters, man. Not freaking quitters. The word freaking, I edit my language. I do have a bit of a potty mouth in my personal life, but when I'm talking into a microphone, I guess it's just ingrained in me to not curse. But when you say, it's like, is it a BYU player That's how he yells on the sideline. Shut the F up. Like, it's just when you don't say the word, it kind of takes the stank off it. You know what I'm saying? The venom is out of it. But he goes on a little tirade. Nick Sirianni does yesterday. Jalen Hurts, just to steal a line from the late great Stuart Scott, as cool as the other side of the pillow, despite everything falling around him. But I just can't get over the fact that this team was supposed to get up for this game. This team was playing a game that ultimately mattered with a good amount of starters in there. Again, DeAndre Swift, Darius Slay out, as we knew, Devontae Smith out, Fletcher Cox out, all that stuff. And they put up that kind of performance. That's not a team that's playing for their head coach. The team that you saw yesterday, that's not a team that's playing for their head coach. To grasp at straws of optimism, stay with me, to grasp at straws of optimism for the Eagles. Because I want to believe that all this was a mirage. The last 6 games of the season were a mirage. Like, I just want to hope that that's the problem. That's the thing. But Nick Sirianni, after the game, talked about you got to flush it. You got to flush the whole month of December, even though we're in January. It's a new year. You got to flush the whole month. Like, at what point does your toilet get backed up? Nick Sirianni ain't the plumber right now to be fixing this toilet. All the stuff you're trying to flush down there, good God. You don't have a plunger big enough. You need one of them snake jaws. You know what I mean? To unclog this toilet. They keep on flushing all this crap. You're going to have a problem. And they have a huge problem. To go over some of the numbers again, I gave them to you earlier with the they've allowed more than a touchdown per game. They're scoring a touchdown less per game, more than a touchdown less per game. Eagles, once again, second team in the Super Bowl era to start 10-1 or better and not win the division since the 1986 Jets. That is a stinky stank. And the Eagles end the season. I want to make sure this is still right. I checked this last night. I want to make sure this has been updated. But I want to get it to you guys one more time just for the sake of accuracy. The Eagles end the season. Last I saw it was a +5 point differential. Good God, that's terrible. All right, so the Bills were at 140. The Ravens were at 203. The Cowboys were at +194. The Eagles at 11-6 ended with only a +5 point differential. Now, earlier in the season, Nick Sirianni was asked about that. Like, hey, does that matter? He's like, oh, no, that really doesn't matter. The hell it doesn't matter. That shows you control games. You control games. The Eagles went through this entire season, and they only controlled 2 games. Fortunately for their playoffs here, one was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The other was against the Miami Dolphins. The Eagles beat the Bills, and they beat the Dolphins, and you saw those teams slug it out last night on Sunday Night Football. Let's look at this. Okay. Eagles are the worst team in the playoffs with point differential. Oh, wait, the Steelers, -20. That's pretty terrible, too. But the Steelers aren't coming off a playoff loss. Or, excuse me, a Super Bowl loss. That is unreal. The Eagles at +5 and the Steelers at -20. Good God. Yeah, Steelers eke in, that's right, with the wild card win. That's unbelievable. Holy Stromboli. Jaguars missed the playoffs, as we know. They were at +6. Tampa was at +23. New Orleans, who misses the playoffs, 9 wins, they're at +75. Good God, man. Yeah, that's not good. That's horrifying. I was banging the drum that Nick Sirianni would not be fired after this season. I didn't think that's something the Eagles would do. But again, I thought that they would beat the Cardinals. I thought they'd beat the Giants to end the season. I didn't think they'd end 1-5. But there's no argument you could make if they lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I expect them to do, that you could bring Nick Sirianni back. The only other option, which I still don't see happening, I see, all right, see you guys, clean house. The only other option I see is that the size gone, Patricia's gone. Brian Johnson's gone, and you save Nick Sirianni. But if you lose to the Buccaneers, and if it really was Nick Sirianni, I think the end of the year it's going to be really telling. If Nick Sirianni if they lose to the Bucs and Sirianni stays on, then I don't believe that it was his call, and I don't believe now that it was his call to move on from Sean Desai. I believe that'll be a front office. I don't believe it'll absolutely be a front office decision. I think that'll be proof that'll be a front office decision that they put Sirianni in this defense in a worse spot. They thought it couldn't get worse against worse opponents, and oh boy, did it. So they'll offer Nick Sirianni a saving grace in saying, "No, that was our fault. We kind of messed with you a little bit there. It didn't work out. You'll stay on. You get 2 new coordinators going into next year. Frank Reich becomes an offensive coordinator. And some guy we've never heard of becomes the defensive coordinator. That's the way it might shake out. No, I don't think it'll be Seth Joyner. I would love for it to be Seth Joyner, but it's not going to be Seth Joyner. Sorry, folks. But yeah, that's where we're at right now with this Philadelphia Eagles team. Let's get into what these guys had to say afterwards, because it is burning a hole in my brain. First off, Nick Sirianni asked point blank about how the hell you come out of the gates like that. Here's his opening statements about the Eagles' start against the New York Giants.
Explain that first half after what happened last week and with something still on the line.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't good enough. We didn't coach well enough. We didn't play well enough, and there's not really an explanation. We just didn't do the things we needed to do to be successful, and that starts with me.
Do you think the locker room is still with you?
Yeah, I know. I felt in that locker room that we got a lot of belief in that locker room, and we know everybody. There's a lot of teams that would want to be in our position to make in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs, and we're moving on into to Tampa Bay, and everybody's got to give everything they got this week. Myself, the coach, starting with the coaches, putting a plan together, and then everybody in that locker room. We need all players, all coaches, all staff, all hands on deck, leaving everything they got in this locker room because everybody's 0-0 going into this week.
What things have gone? Do you think players still should have faith in you?
Yeah, you can ask them that as far as we're obviously we've lost 5 of our last 6. That doesn't discredit the rest of the season. You can ask them that question.
What was your messaging? Is this a game where you say flush it, or is this a game you say?
Yeah, we'll look at it just like every game. There's not every game you use as a tool to help yourself get better. And so we'll look at this game. We'll make the corrections from this game. Obviously we're all going to be pissed off after this game, but yes, you have to flush it. Yes, you have to move on. You have to flush this last month. Like I said, a lot of teams want to be in our position. Everybody's 0-0 to start this thing off. And flush this game, but also learn from it, just like you do every opportunity you get on the field.
The line he had there, and it's funny, you listen to these cuts 3-4 times and all that stuff. Every once in a while something different will jump out. I don't know what I missed. Maybe I was concentrated too much on the extremely backed up toilet he's talking about there. Like the Mario Brothers would run away from this toilet. Like, that's how terrible this toilet is. I'm watching this and I'm listening to it, and it didn't jump out to me till just then. The last 6 games doesn't discredit the start of the season. If the last 6 game does it, what the hell does? Like, think about this. You're 10-1, then you drop 5 of 6 to end the year. I mentioned earlier the tag to the New York Jets, only team to not win the division after starting out 10-1 or better. Also, the Miami Dolphins. So listen to this. Eagles joined the last year's Dolphins and the 86 Jets as the teams to lose 5 of the last 6 games and still make the playoffs. All right. If the last 6 games doesn't discredit the 10-1 start, what does? Like, in all honesty, it absolutely discredits, because it shows what you actually are. I went through this last week. I went through it a little more careful over the weekend here, but I want to make sure I have this right for you guys, because I talked about 3 plays, actually, that really made a difference in the Eagles season. But there's more to that. And I think somebody commented last week about the Cowboys game. I should add it to it. And I didn't want to do that because it's a divisional game, and those games can really go either way. But I did go back and look at the Cowboys game. And it wasn't just Dak Prescott stepping out on the 2-point conversion. It wasn't just Schoonmaker's touchdown stop of a touchdown at the 1-inch line with Reed Blankenship making the tackle. It was a whole slew of other things. A touchdown was overturned and taken off the board. They ended up scoring a touchdown anyway. but his touchdown was taken off the board because of illegal formation, I believe it was. So there was a bevy of things around the 2-minute mark of that game that really turned the tide in the favor of the Eagles, with the Cowboys driving and threatening. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to this list. So a couple of things that I'll look at. Not discredited. The end of the season doesn't discredit the previous 10. Yes, it does, especially when you make a major change as to who a play caller is, albeit the defensive side of the ball. Still a major change to your team, and it doesn't pay off. All right. We've talked about the Van Does Scantling play where he dropped the ball under 2 minutes to go against the Chiefs. Eagles go down 24-21 with under 2 minutes remaining in that game. Good chance they lose that game. Maybe they drive down the field. Maybe Jake Elliott gets the field goal and they tie it to go to overtime. Either way, they're lucky that he dropped that football. Buffalo game, all right? Gabe Davis breaks the wrong way in overtime. What would have been a walk-off touchdown. Instead, they have to settle for a field goal. Eagles then drive down the field. I believe it was a 11-play drive, and it was capped off by a 12-yard touchdown run by Jalen Hurts. So they win that game. But in overtime, you can get that walk-off touchdown if you have first possession. Gabe Davis had his man beat. He broke the wrong way. Josh Allen threw the inside. He was cutting to the outside. Would have been a walk-off touchdown. That would have been a loss. The Dallas game I already mentioned. Absolutely, you can put it on this list. And then this is the one that really gets me here. It was week 4 against the Commanders. Now, either one of those Commanders games could have gone either way. But in particular, week 4, Reed Blankenship, ladies and gentlemen, on a 3rd and 5, gets his forearm at midfield just under a leaping Terry McLaurin who's making the catch and pushing his foot out of bounds. His toe was inbounds, hits the forearm out of bounds. Reed Blankenship's forearm isn't there. They lose that game. No doubt in my mind. Washington would have had the ball at the Eagles' 47-yard line about. There's no doubt in my mind they would have driven down the field and gotten points there. Those are 4 games that very simply could have gone the other way. 4 games makes you an 11-6 team to a 7-10 team. 7-10. That sure as hell feels a lot more like what the Eagles are this year right now. So the first couple of the 10-1 is not discredited. Yeah. This team loves to speak in cliches. Flush it being one of them. You know what's another cliche? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. The Eagles' only hope right now is that when I was grasping at straws earlier in the show for optimism and hope, it's a little morsel of optimism here because good God, I need it. The Eagles just needed to get to the playoffs, and that's where it really matters. Yeah, I told you it wasn't good. I told you it wasn't convincing. You can't have confidence in a team that looks lost. I love Jalen Hurts, and I wanted to be the quarterback here for a long time. And yes, you can't deny that this has absolutely been a regression year from Jalen Hurts. No denying that. What I wanted to say after last year, and we got to say this, was if you have Jalen Hurts as your quarterback, you have a chance to win. You know what? The Buffalo game, the opportunity presented itself for him to win the game. He marched down the field. He won the game for you. Pretty spectacular. You need a hell of a lot more of that. And one thing you can't have, whether it's a broken finger or a dislocated finger, and you can pop that back into place and all is going to be right with the world, whatever the case may be, your quarterback, and this is what I learned from the Carson Wentz run. By the way, what a game he had yesterday for the Rams. Good for him, I guess. When it comes to the quarterback position, and this is what I learned from the Carson Wentz era, there can be a lot of problems on the football team. The quarterback can't be one of them. And Jalen Hurts' turnover rate this year has been insane. And his decision-making has been a huge drop-off. And a lot of that has resulted in the turnovers. And in my mind, the thing I keep going back to is the situational football. It's always great to get points. And they went for the touchdown to A.J. Brown in week 4. And situationally, that's not the right call. At the time it happened, I went, all right, you put the Commanders away. Then A.J. Brown got the penalty for taunting, moved the football up 15 yards. Like, to me, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. It couldn't have ended. I mean, they won, but forcing overtime, you get the lucky play there with Reed Blankenship's forearm and all that. But the one that really I keep on going back to is the Seattle game, because that was supposed to be the end of the gauntlet, especially when it was announced that Drew Lock was going to be their starting quarterback. And the situational football at the 1st and 10 with 8:15 left in the fourth quarter, and he bombs the ball downfield to Quez Watkins. You're up 4 points. Keep bleeding the clock, baby. It's stupid. It's absolutely ridiculously stupid to let that ball fly in that situation. Single coverage, great. Then keep that in your back pocket in case Seattle then marches down the field on the next possession and scores a touchdown. But until then, 1st and 10, you're in Seahawks territory. 8:15 left. Keep bleeding the clock, baby. Don't let that ball fly downfield. Sure enough, ends up in an interception. I know everyone, oh no, why throw the ball at Quez Watkins? That doesn't matter. The mistake was already made. Of all the things that happened on that play, Quez Watkins was like my fourth concern. The decision to even throw to Quez Watkins at any point, who, by the way, I don't want to rip him, had a great game yesterday. When all the stakes were non-existent, he was great. Actually saw him go up and catch that ball from Marcus Mariota. I went, damn, son, go up and get that. Double coverage. My man takes flight. Kidding, not my man. But yeah, just the decision-making this year, huge regression from Jalen Hurts. And I understand that offensively speaking, they're talking about going for the splash play. You're a team that needs to go for wins. And if Tyrod Taylor, if Drew Lock can have success against this Eagles team, what the hell are you going to do against Baker Mayfield throwing to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans? Now, earlier in the season, it worked out rather well for you, but this team ain't that team now. Like, do you mean to tell me this Eagles team would beat the Bills? That's hilarious. You mean to tell me that this Eagles team would beat the Dolphins again? And the Dolphins were a team that they probably the biggest win of the season. Their biggest win of the season. The closest I was to, maybe this team can win a Super Bowl this year was the Miami Dolphins game. Because at the time, the Miami Dolphins a legit opponent. Possibly a Super Bowl preview. Yee. It's almost like the end of the season discredited the 10-1 start because it did. Anyway, all right, that's my soapbox. Here's Nick Sirianni when he made the decision to actually pull the start.
When we went down 24-0, I thought, that it wasn't obviously going the way we wanted it to go, and wanted to get a chance to rest some guys. We, like I told you guys, we went out there to play and to try to get ourselves going, and also not knowing what was going to happen in the other game. So obviously I was doing a little bit of scoreboard watching, and I think that at that time the Dallas game was close, but our game was 3 score game, and we hadn't moved it very, very well, and they were up 24-0, and that's why I made that decision at that point.
Yeah, everything sucked. We all sucked. The Giants were actually playing well. We had no idea what to do with blitz. Wink Martindale thought that the number 1 rated offensive line in football by Pro Football Focus for like 6 weeks in a row, whatever it is now, he thought their offensive line was cute yesterday. Just blitz, 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 blitz. And the only thing Jalen Hurts did was roll to his right. I'm going to roll to my right, throw the ball away. Maybe I can make a play downfield. That's all. And Wink Martindale just kept on sending them. Even on Marcus Mariota. Not ready. Now, all right, ready. I'm gonna go back to Nick Sirianni later for the pep talk, okay? Leave on a high note, all right? Jalen Hurts, after the game, was asked about how this locker room maintains confidence despite the end of the season woes.
The thing about weathering it all, man, we get a question like that or a question like this, it's about not riding waves. Never getting too high, never getting too low, and keeping the main thing with that. Right now, regardless of what's going on outside of us, anything external, it's about controlling what we can. And I truly believe this team is more than capable in taking advantage of what's in front of us. You got to do the work, and you got to do what you need to do. But all you need is a crumb. All you need is an opportunity. All I need is a crumb. And so, we're gonna put our hands on deck to do that. It's simply win or go home, and nothing else matters. Nothing Nothing prior matters. Anything. None of it. So.
Yeah, the one thing that I do agree with is that nothing matters at this point. It's the playoffs. It's a whole new thing, and you talk about the proverbial switch, and I think it was Zach Berman asking the question consistently after the game last night. How do you know that switch is going to be flipped now? It was similar to Olivia Ryder, our guest on Friday. It was similar to what she was asking Nick Sirianni 2 weeks ago. All this stuff can be fixed. Why isn't it fixed? Well, because it's different. It was a very similar theme here with this Eagles team. What makes you think that you can actually flip that switch now? And it's like, well, it's the playoffs. It's a whole new thing now. We're in the tournament, albeit we're on the road after a 10-1 start. You know, the other thing about Nick Sirianni's line about how it's all discredited and all that stuff, and it's not discredited. So 10-1, you're number one in the NFC. You're the number one seed. Now you're the 5 seed. Now you're going into Tampa. Now you're going on the road to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That kind of matters. Kind of matters. Also, yeah, give him a crumb. Somebody throw this man a crumb, please. And then here he has answered the question about whether or not the Eagles and Jalen Hurts himself can flip the switch in the postseason.
That switch last week and this week, what makes you think it's going to happen next week?
There's always another opportunity. There's always another opportunity. It's about taking advantage of the opportunity. You know, do I think we've done a good job of doing that? No, not as of late. But that takes complete ownership in every individual doing that. Now, it's about finding that deep in our souls and figuring out ways to win. You know, I think I've talked about a standard for a long time, and the standard is to never be compromised, because that is something internal that drives you to be the best you can be and do what you're capable of, you know, but who cares how you win in the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep winning. If you just keep winning, I know we went that cute, adorable little storyline for a lot of the season about they just find ways to win games. Now other teams kind of just choke big time. Like the 4 games I mentioned. That's how close they are to a 7-10 football team. 7-10. That's more indicative of a +5 point differential on the season, and whatever the hell they were, a -8 now, -9 in takeaway and turnover differential. Good God, man. All right. Jason Kelsey asked after the game about, still that confidence question about going into the playoffs. Here's the way I think Jason Kelsey actually spoke for all of us here, because it's like, so how do you go into the playoffs with any amount of confidence?
Yeah, we got a lot. I mean, we got a lot to fix. Got a lot to do better. I mean, I don't know that it's about the worst stretch of football since Nick has been here. And it's very, very frustrating. But, we're in the playoffs, and now it's one and done. You're out. You have the Buccaneers this next week, and we're going to focus and prepare and try to go and win the game.
We got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot to fix. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Rome is burning. Yeah, and we lit the fire. We definitely started this fire. This is awful. Good God, man. He's right. I don't disagree. And he even said after the game, they got their asses kicked. Simple as that. They got their asses kicked in a game they should have won. I say should have. Should they have, really? No, not when they're playing like this. And then finally, this is the interesting questioning from Jeff McClain when he's asking about, you've been here for the end of several regimes. How is this not that? How is this not the end of Nick Sirianni if, it does end up in a loss in Tampa?
Close to winning the Super Bowl, just 11 months ago. But is it fair to say that you've been here for the end of Andy Reid, you've been here for the end of Chip, you've been here for the end of Doug?
Yeah.
Fair to say that this game next week is a referendum on Nick Sirianni?
I don't know if referendum. To be honest, I'm struggling to understand what do you mean by that? Like, is it like
whether the locker room still, whether you guys can go out there and perform the way you need to perform to show that you're with him?
Yeah, I think everybody in the locker room has faith in Nick Sirianni. I think it's it hasn't been pretty. Obviously, the last month to say it would be an understatement. But we've had a lot of really, really successful football with Nick. I think he does a lot of really, really good things organizationally. Every game that we play is ultimately a reflection of the team and the head coach, right? So, whether you win or lose, it's always going to come down. And when you're in the position of leadership, or you're the head guy, you're going to bear the brunt of it. But I think that there's a lot of things that collectively we'd love to be better at. And for me, I don't have any lack of faith or trust in this year.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice that he ended with that. But where was the A.J. Brown attitude of, the coaches aren't lacing him up? If you ask anyone the question of, like, basically a referendum on Nick Sirianni, is this his job on the line? No. Yes. That's how easily that question is answered. Instead, he talks in a circle for 1 minute and 20 seconds trying to answer that question. First off, what do you mean by referendum? I've never even heard that word before. What the hell does that even mean? His job on the line. That's what it means. That's not a ringing endorsement of the guy. It reminded me more so of the A.J. Brown line that was kind of hidden in all the good stuff that everybody loved about how, well, does everyone feel like you, A.J., where it's this isn't the player, it's not on the coaches, it's on the players got to perform better? Well, I can't speak for everybody. That little throwaway line told me more about this locker room than anything. Hassan Reddick last week, what he had to say about this team, that told me more about what's really going on in that locker room and at the NovaCare complex in general than anything A.J. Brown said. A.J. Brown was the feel-good press conference of the year, really, okay? Oh, it could save the season. Okay. That's adorable. That's really cute. Some people think that, but Hassan Reddick was the real talk that I think a lot of fans needed. And listening to Jason Kelce try to answer that question without throwing Nick Sirianni under the damn bus, it seemed pretty difficult. He's a nimble guy. That Jason Kelce. That's why he's had a Hall of Fame career. All right, back to the guy that is going to have a referendum on him when it comes to this game against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Monday night, by the way, they kicked that game off. Here it is. I'll leave you with, speaking of feel good, you want to feel like this team's not quitters, that they're not going to lay down and die? You want to feel like this team's actually going to muster something up in the playoffs and actually win a game? Nick Sirianni invokes a little Rocky Balboa here, where it's along the lines of, how hard do you get hits, man? How many times you keep going forward? That kind of thing. Nick Sirianni on why he has confidence in this team can turn it around in the playoffs.
Now losing 5 or 6 that keeps that belief for you.
Yeah, I mean, none of us are quitters. We all get up off the mat when we're down, and we get up and we keep going. When you get hit in life, when you get hit in football, you got 2 options. You can stay down, or you can get the F up. And I know this group is fighters. I know this group will get up. I know that we've all been through things in our life that we've all had to deal with, and we know how to get up. And that's why we're all sitting in this room. The same message that I talked to the guys about last year, going into the NFC Championship game about, not only are we physically tough, we're mentally tough, and thinking about all the stuff that you've been through in your life, and why you're in this seat right now. There's the same message I would say right now, when you're going, not only when you're won 15 games like we did that last year at that time, but also when you're on a five game losing streak. Because, and so it's nobody's quitting on this team, because that's the reason all these guys are in that locker room, because they know how to freaking fight. The coaches know how to freaking fight. The players know how to freaking fight. The staff know how to freaking fight. And so we'll just get up and we'll fight again, and we'll see what happens next week when we put everything we got into it. And we've been putting everything we got into it, but we're going to put everything we got up into it this week, and we'll see what happens.
Good God. And we're back. The technical difficulties followed me from Ocean Casino. Go figure. Hey, I hope he's right. I hope he's late. I hope he's right. I hope he's right. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Game Time app, ladies and gentlemen. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy for $20 off. $20 off and free shipping at the game. Free shipping. $20 off at the Game Time app. You want to get tickets to the big event? You want to buy tickets to the big event? Game Time app. They have all-inclusive pricing, so when you don't get surprised at the end, like, oh, wait, service fees, $100. What? No. Game Time app doesn't do that. They take care of you from the start. Flash deals, zone deals for big savings, last-minute deals even an hour after the event starts. You want to go to the big comedy show, the big game, the big event, The Game Time app has got you covered. So download the app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and we'll get you for $20 off. How about that? That's some great savings for you right out of the gate. And also, how about this? The lowest price guarantee with the Game Time guarantee, even cancellation and protection and job loss protection as well. Now, killer last minute deals, all in prices. You could view your seat. It's absolutely incredible. And how about the Game Time guarantee? They take the guesswork out of buying tickets. If you find tickets in the same section, same row for less, Game Time will match it 110% of the difference. How about that? Not too shabby with the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. There's promo code Farzy on the Game Time app. How about the great people at MyBookie? MyBookie.ag. Use promo code Farzy when you download MyBookie.ag for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie.ag. Want to bet on the Eagles? Against the Eagles? You can do that with the Game Time app. Want to bet on basketball, hockey, even TV shows and politics you could bet on with the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone, GameTimeApp.ag. MyBookie.ag, that is. How about the great people at PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. A lot of comments to get to. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can here. To start it off. Farzy, easy on the espresso today. You're fired up enough already. Thank you, Adam. I agree. High school Harry would say effing unbelievable. That's Nick Sirianni, that's for sure. What's up? I'll just say DJ, what's up? Good morning. Crazy and unheard of. Sad day. Players quit. Coaches quit. Everybody quit. They let. What do you think about it? They let Sean Desai off easy. The bigger punishment would have been having him stay on this team as the defensive play caller. Kyle Red stuck on stupid. April. Good morning, April. Maverick, trash AF. I agree. What a dumpster fire of a game. Hell yeah. Sean Kilrain, good morning. Dank, good morning. That's why 3 wasn't a halftime show. No, there wasn't a halftime show. Thank you. Okay, that makes more sense. I better go put my money on Tampa before they move the line. T-Dog, what was it now? 3.5? Don't worry. It's all part of Howie's plan. Oh, good God. Missed tackles. Bills game broke the Eagles, not the Niners. Interesting. Yeah, the Bills made the right call when it comes to changing a coordinator, actually giving their offense time to do it. Or their unit, I should say. DJ, the lack of leadership coaches gives off at the sideline is insane. Hulu hurts. Robert, that's funny. Thank you. I needed that. Babs, what's up, Babs? Farzy, I suggested last week it would be best for the Eagles to sit the starters, especially Hurts. That embarrassed yesterday. Was right up there with the Embiid 76 performance against the Knicks. Oh, gross. Yeah, it was a pretty terrible weekend for sports in Philadelphia. Looking forward to the offseason, as we all are. T-Dog gets you again. They could have lost to Washington twice. They absolutely could have lost to Washington twice. Then you're talking about what then? A 6-11 team. Good God. Throwing in the towel on the Kobe. He can't stay healthy. It certainly doesn't seem like he can stay. Oh, wait. I watched this. Skip Bayless. What's up? Nick Sirianni, a fraud, needs to be fired. That's probably going to happen. I don't see them beating Tampa. Let's go, Cowboys. Thanks, Kip. Appreciate you joining the show. Try to get through a couple more before I got to run out. Sydney family, what's up? John trying to defend the Eagles coaching. Come on. Not great. Hit the like. Yeah, hit the like button, people. I'm convinced we just don't have the talent on defense. Linebackers trash, secondary trash. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Richie MC, the lorries of Jeffrey and Julian. The fish stinks from the head down. See, it's an organizational problem. Problem. The cryptic mumbo, feel bad for Hurts and the rest of the team. Worst collapse since the 64 Phillies. Wow, we got Chico Ruiz in the house. This just sums it up. Eagles are ass. I'm done with them. Thank you, K. Raleigh. Good to hear from you as always. April, New Heights is going to be interesting this week. Ooh, that is very true. Sean, I think he got you in here once. What's up, Sean? Past month they're fighting. Yeah. Hell, haven't seen this past month is fighting. Yeah, I agree. Haven't seen that either. Fader, what's up? How we need to go. He's the underlying problem. It's a huge problem, unfortunately. Folks, I got to run. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Much appreciated. Make sure you guys download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farsley for $20 off your first purchase. We'll pick up the pieces tomorrow and see where this team is headed, because it just seems like an early playoff exit. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day. I got to get this one thing off the screen because I made that mistake last week. Anyway, I'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Hang in there. See you.